So now let's go back to our email service. But remember guys, the data that we are going to share between jobs, so the data that we are setting, that we are saving here in our step execution context should be something simple, okay? Don't think, for example, to save a big object or large objects, okay? It's not very nice because we are going to see that the step execution context is also being persisted in our job repository. The job repository is a collection of tables that Spring Batch uses in order to save the metadata related to our job. So we need to go back here and let's create here, for example, I like to use some DTOs, okay? So let's just say here we are going to receive an email content. We are going to create it as a record. And let's just say, okay, we are going to create here in a package called by DTO. So here. So what we are going to have here, for example, the email content will receive list of string, file codes, right? We are receiving here file codes. And yeah, so we can think, for example, we can create here the canonical constructor, okay, which is very nice also. For example, if we just do Command N, and we can, for example, constructor think about the canonical constructor, okay? So this canonical constructor is nice. Now, I prefer to create a compact one. So for example here, I can just say, let's say like public email content. So for example, we can validate our collection. So our collection cannot be null, okay? So let me just put here some validation. So file code cannot be null. It's very nice. You should always think about the validation of your object, okay? So if you remember, we have a video related to DDD. So here I can just put here, for example, some validation. So I expect that it's not empty, okay? So for example, if it's empty, I can just, in my case, let me just log, okay? So in that order, let me just use the self4j, which is the Lombok, right, annotation that allows me to log. So I'm just going to put here a warning. No content for email. So just like this. Yeah, but now let's go back here. Let's implement our service. So let's create here a new class. I think let's create here a new package. Okay, let's just call it by implementation. And here we are going to create our email service implementation, which will implement the email service. So we need to override or implement the methods. I'm just going to say that this is a service. Of course, you can use component as you want. In my case here, let me just put it as final. Yeah, now that we have it like this, so you remember guys, we have here this dependency. So this dependency is very nice because it will give us all the capabilities, all the features in order to deal with email. So in that order, let me just, for example, inject here. So what we are going to inject, we are going to inject the Java mail sender. You remember guys, you can, for example, inject it as auto-write, which is the field injection. But as always, I have been telling you guys that I don't like this. I prefer using the constructor injection. So I'm using the Lombok in order to help me to do the constructor injection. So now that we have here, the Java mail sender is the one that will allow us to send email. So what we are going to do here, I think in order to send email, the first thing that we need is to, let's say, to create the content of the email. But let's first configure, okay, our Java mail sender. So we are going to use the simple mail message, okay? Let's just instantiate it. So we have the simple mail message. So we are going to have here from, for example here, the from, we are going to say, okay, Bayona Sensei, let's say at youtube.com, and the email also needs a to, right? Set to. So we are going to send to, let me just add here a custom email, just like this. And for example, let's suppose that we are sending, okay, the email to our, let's say, HR department or our, let's say, SRE. So let's just put here, for example, we need also the subject. The subject, we can just set something like important. So it's important. And let's say, okay, your files, let's say uploaded. So this will be the subject. And the last one, we need to specify content itself. Okay, so it will be the text. So here we are going to set the text. So what we are going to do here, guys. So let's just take the content, okay? The content, which will return us a collection. So let's get these files. And what we are going to do, we are just going, for example, let's concatenate. Okay, I think something better. So let's concatenate the files. Okay, let me just go here, for example, here, not here, but in our web client. So let's just get this, the URL. Okay, so let me put it here, and let's concatenate. So in order to have, for example, the URL, okay, with the file code. Okay, so just like that. And once our recipient will receive the email, he can just click in order to download the file once again. So in that order, let's just map. So for each item, okay, let's just call it by item. So what we are going to do here is we are going to get this. Let's just put here a variable var base URL will be this one here, just like this. So this is the base URL, and once we get this, okay, so we are just going to concatenate. So base URL, okay, and we are going to concatenate with the file code. Let's just call it by file code. Yeah, just like this. So let's just concatenate it with the file code. Yeah, let's just collectors to set. Let's just put it like that. Not to set. What we are going to need, I think, what we are doing here. Okay, we are going to concatenate. We are going to join all the link, right? The URL with the file code. So in that order, let's just, for example, here, use the collectors that joining, just joining like this. Okay, so it will return as a let's say a string. So here we can just say email body, something like this. Yeah, just like this. Yeah, I think it's okay. We can just put here, okay, the email body. Okay, it's saying that we can replace it with lambda expression, but I think if we concatenate it like this, we can also, for example, here concatenate with a new line. Okay, I know we should use string builder in order to concatenate it, but I will make a refactoring later. And yeah, now that we have it like this, let me just add here, for example, a greeting. Okay, we need to greet them. Okay, we are going to use the text block, which is a new feature. Okay, we have it in Java 17. I'm using Java 21, so you have the text block. So let me just add here, hello, let's say Mr. Someone. Okay, Mr. Someone. Okay, welcome to Spring Batch. Yeah, Spring Batch become a legend series. And let's just say, for example, here below you can find the links just like this. And here we can just, for example, say formatted pure Java. You know that you can just specify here the first argument. Okay, so in that order, I'm just going to make here, okay, so this one here. Okay, yeah, so having it like that, we can, for example, here also greetings that concat. Okay, let's concatenate our greeting, okay, with the email body, just like this. This is the place that we are going to use the Java mail sending, okay, in order to send email, which we are going to send the simple mail message. I think it's okay. So now let's go back to our, let's say, our job here, okay, and let's create the step that will allow us to send this email. So in that order, as always, let's just create here a step. Let's say mail sender step, and here we are going to start building our step. Okay, so we are going to use the step builder. The step builder, it needs a name. and it needs also a job repository. Okay, so in that order, let's just use here the job repository, and let's add here the job repository. Yeah, so now that we are building our step, I think this is a very nice place to make you guys understand something. If we see here in our step, okay, we have the chunk, right? And here we can think about what I was telling you in the beginning of this video. So we can have here what I was telling you in the beginning of this video. For example, if we take a look of what is a tasklet, tasklet is nice, for example, to compute an action as a single work of a unit. For example, here, let's say sending email. So that's what I was trying to tell you guys, the reason that we can, for example, use the tasklet. This tasklet actually receive a tasklet and a platform transaction manager. Okay, so in that order, let's just use here the platform transaction manager, and here we can, for example, instantiate, for example, here tasklet like this. Okay, so here we have the transaction manager. So in order to instantiate a new tasklet, let me see. So here we are going to have the tasklet, and not only tasklet, okay, we also need the transaction manager. Here we can just for now say build, and here let me just put it with lambda expression. No, it's not good. Here is the place that we are going to use our tasklet. So what we are going to do here, the first thing that we need to do, we need to actually inject, right? Let me see if we have, yeah, inject the email service to our job, right? Because we will need it. So in that order, let's use here the constructor injection, email service, and here in the tasklet, we are going to use the email service, okay? Email service. So what we are going to send. So this is the place that we need to understand how we can get the data, okay, that we are sharing, that we are sharing between the steps, okay? And we use the execution context promotion in order to allow us to share this data between two steps. So we have first step, and now we are building second step. So in that order, in order to get that, we need to use the chunk context, and we are going to get the step context, okay? And we are going to get the job execution context. And then in the job execution context is the place that we are going to get our key, okay? Which is this one. So that's why I was telling you guys that using this will allow us to share data within a job. So now that we got this, okay, we can just, for example, here, it's not an object, okay? As you remember, guys, it was a list of strings, okay? Here also we need just as a list of string, okay? And let me see, we receive here an email content. So in that order, let's use the email content. Okay, let's instantiate it. And the email content receives, right, a list of codes. So let's just use here files to update codes like this. And yeah, now that we have it like that, we can just use here. And then in terms of return type, we are going to use the repeated status finish, okay, in order to indicate, okay, that the processing has finished. And here we can, for example, put it as a lambda expression. I think the next thing that we can do here is, for example, saying, okay, here, for example, log. We don't have log here in our service. Let's just use self4j of Lombok, and let's use log.info, okay? And here we are going to log, for example, let's say sending email. Let's just put it like this, okay? Sending email. Guys, remember, I'm just putting the logs here in order to show you guys what's happening. Don't abuse the logs. If you need, put some log level, for example, debug or something like that, okay? And yeah, let's go back here in our job, okay? Now that we have it like this, our step, we can just annotate our step as a bin. And then here in our job is the place that we can, for example, say, okay, now we have the first step, right? This one here. And I think we can use, for example, the second step, okay? Let me just get here the name of step, just like this. And here in our job, our job will receive two steps. We have the first one, the second one. So in order to use the second one, let's just use here next, just like this. Yeah, it's okay. Actually, the code is a mess, but yeah, I think it's okay. It's not a big mess. We just need to, for example, remove this and do something better here. And yeah, now let's see how can we, when you use the Java mail sender, or in our case, we are using the dependency Spring Boot Starter mail. So we need to configure, right? We need to configure our mail host, port, and so on. So as we are dealing with a video, I don't want to configure, for example, Gmail or something like that. So in that order, I think what we can do is to use let's say, once again, Docker. We have a concept called by MailHog. So for example, if we go here, we can just find the MailHog, okay? And you will understand, okay, why we need MailHog, okay? So if you take a look, for example, in this page, you will understand a little bit more about MailHog. So in that order, I'm just going to grab this image of MailHog and set up for our use case. So in that order, the first thing that we need to do, we need to go here in our Docker Compose and start creating here our configuration. But in our case, let me just grab this and paste it here. Let me just put, for example, like this. I don't want restart always. Oh, my bad. Okay, so we need it like this, for example. Yeah, so I think we don't need to specify here the latest. And I think also we can, for example, specify here the container name. In our case can be, let's just say, for example, yeah, MailHog. It will be the same, but anyways. So we need to remove this. So this is what we have here. So guys, you can take a look and read a little bit about MailHog. So the question here of MailHog is, how do you know that outgoing emails from your app or website actually end up in the recipient mailbox? Okay, so we are using the MailHog in order to test our mail capabilities. So now that we have here the image, so let's just run our Docker Compose. So now, as we can see, the MailHog, we bind it to our machine in the port 8025. Okay, so if we go, for example, here, localhost 8025, should be localhost, okay, localhost 8025. Yeah, we can see. And here, now that we have it like this, the first thing that we need to do, we need actually to specify the Spring Mail configuration and so on, okay? So let's just use host. For example, our host will be localhost, right? And we need also to specify, for example, the mail port. We are going to use the 25, right? No, it's not the 25. We are going to use the 1025. So just like this, 1025. Yeah, we need to specify also the username. Okay. Of course, I will not show you my username and the password also. But for this particular image, you can just leave it as an empty string. Okay. And the last one we need to specify, for example, we need to specify properties for the SMTP authentication. Okay, properties.mail.smtp.off. Okay, everything is in the documentation. You can just read it and it's okay. So yeah, I think we have the local host and so on. Okay, I think it's time to test, right, our application. So before that, of course, we need to run our microservice, which is the server side that we use to save or upload the files. We run first. Okay, now it's time to run our Spring Batch application. Now let's take a look and let's see if we can get the emails. Okay. All right, so we got here, as you can see, okay, sending email. So let's go to our browser and yeah, we got it here. Wow, we got it, man, we got it. Okay, we need to, why? All right, our web service, the server side, let me just finish it, okay? Here in the server side, yeah, let me take a look, where is it, here? We are saying that the return type is a string, okay? But I think it's not a string, as we can see in email, okay? It's an object that contains a code, which is a string, and the data. So we can just, for example, here, let's just create here, upload response. Let's just say like this. We can just create this as a record. Okay, so it will receive a string as a code and also a string, an object, I think. So code and data. Okay, so here we can just say data like this. And here in our HTTP client, okay, we can just say here, okay, it will be upload response. Okay, we should specify that it's a DTO, for example, but never mind. Okay, we need to say here it will be upload response, and now we need to refactor it here also. It will be upload response. Okay, and here is upload response also, but what we need here is just the code. Okay, so I think we can go back to our email. Okay, let's just delete all. As you can see, this is very nice, man. I don't know, the Docker is the best thing that we have in our lives. I swear, man. Docker and Git. So let's go back here. Let's run our example here. All right, so we got here, and now if we go back here, as we can see, important, right? Let me first finish it. So as we can see, we have created the, let's say here, the greeting, right? So the subject is this one, important, right? This is the subject. So important, your files uploaded, okay, or your files have been uploaded. And yeah, we specified the from to, okay, so from to, and then we specified actually the greeting and the body. Okay, so here we can see the greeting. Hello, Mr. Pedro Polonea Silva. Okay, here as we can see, hello, Mr. and this one here, Pedro Polonea Silva, so you can just play. Then we concatenate every single code that we receive here, okay, into, let's say, URL. So if we just click, wow, amazing. Wow, amazing, guys, amazing. Huh? Amazing. So this is a very simple way to, so you can use this technique while you are programming, right? You don't need much configuration. You are just, for example, creating your new feature, and you can use the MailHog, right? And for example here, the database MySQL in your, let's say, development environment, right? And just specify here, for example, the settings, and that's all, okay? So now, in order to understand how we pass the data, between steps, we can just, for example, come here. Let's put here a breakpoint, for example, here, and for example, also a breakpoint here, okay? Here, actually. So let's run once again our application. And here, for example, let me just, here, for example, we can play a little bit, and let's say here in email service, okay? So we can just say, okay, very important, okay? Now it will not be the Pedro Polonea Silva, it will be, for example, another, let's say, our subscriber here in our channel. So it will be Tiago Navarro. So let's go here, and let's say, okay, hello, okay, like this. So let's run in debug mode. So the first thing that we got here is that we are going to look at step execution. So if you go to step execution, okay, you will see that we have here the execution context, and execution context contains some keys. So, and here we specify our key, which is files upload code, okay? So here we specify before the step, okay? So before the step, we initialize it, okay? And then once the step is running, okay, we go there and we go, for example, we can just, let me put, for example, a breakpoint. Yeah, let me just go, for example, like this, once, twice, okay? And if we go back to our step execution, here, this one, we can see that in our step execution, in our execution context, we will have, okay, the codes, so the file codes. So we have the key is files uploaded codes, and the value are the actually response that we are receiving from our web service, okay? So once the step, let's just move it. So once it's finished, okay, let's suppose that we saved, right, all those codes, all the codes in, let's say, our list. We use the execution context promotion, okay, that will allow us to share data between steps in a in job context, okay. So we have one job, and this job have two steps, and the steps are sharing the data, okay, between both of them. So the only thing that you need to remember is that you don't have to abuse, because the data that you use here to share, okay, should be very, let's say, very small. I don't know the granularity, but you should not abuse. So here in our step, we use once again the execution context, right, the chunk context, and we got the step execution, okay, and in the step execution we just look for our key here. If we go, for example, let me just go here, yeah, so in the chunk execution context, okay, you will find our keys, okay. So for example, execution context, okay, actually we are in the context of the step, okay, but in the job, okay, in the job execution, you will see, yeah, in the job execution, you will see, okay, the codes, as you can see here, okay. So remember, one step sent the data to the job execution, okay, and any other step in that job can get the data, okay. So this is what we have here, and once we finish processing, okay, let me just finish it like this, okay, so it's finished. Let me stop the job, and then we can just go here, and we will see that we receive some new messages, okay, very important. And we have here the message, okay, the email actually. This is very nice, guys. And I'm tired already. I think the next thing that I want to tell you guys is, for example, you know that sometimes you just need to send an email once the job is finished, but you need to use the condition flows. So we have also video about the condition flow, okay? Controlling flow, sequential, conditional, and so on. And all that we have done here, we are using, let's say, pure Java, okay? Because if you take a look, for example, let me see, here in other examples, we have some readers for example, JSON, right? We have some readers for flat files here, for example, right? So let's say what actually Spring Batch offers us in order to deal with email. So Spring Batch offers us, let's say here, public. So I think it's a simple mail, simple mail item writer, okay? So Spring Batch offers us the simple mail item writer, which actually allow us to do the same. So this is a pre-built class, okay, that will allow us to send email. I want to cover this, but I think maybe in the next video I will do that. And because let me say, I think later I will do that, okay? I will do that. But this implementation that we have here, okay, is also nice. So as alternative, for example, if you don't want to use MailHog, okay, Docker image, you can, for example, use another thing that is I'm using always, which is MailTrap, okay? MailTrap is also nice. And you will see also you can configure MailTrap. Here, the MailTrap is talking about MailHog, okay? And we are using MailHog. But MailTrap also has in the browser, so you don't need Docker Compose, okay, in order to run the MailTrap, okay, with email. So guys, this is what I have here. We have covered a lot of stuff here, and I hope that you enjoy, okay? The video was so long, and don't forget to subscribe and put some like, okay? Comment, just leave me a comment, something like, okay, Sensei was nice, okay? And we will see in the next video, which will be amazing, okay? So see you guys.